that DHS has acknowledged that Venezuela, for example, is emptying their prisons and their rehabilitation centers with the understanding you get out if you leave here and go to the United States.
Yes.
And DHS has, in writing, said, we know that's happening. We know they're coming here. We're processing them in and have no idea where they are.
Correct.
How many people are we talking about?
Millions. And just Venezuela alone.
We're talking about in the last 2 or 3 years, we've had estimated how many people have come across the border.
My estimation, the official number, I think, is about 10 million.
Yeah, it's about 10, 11 million.
Yeah,
that's the official.
But my personal opinion, I think we're about 15 to 18 million.
Okay. And you're saying several million of those have come from Venezuela?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, a lot from Venezuela. I mean, the majority, a lot of them came from Venezuela. Now they're coming from every single part of the world. Africa, New Guinea, Mauritania, is that the way you say that one? Middle East, China, India, Syria, Yemen, Russia, you name the country, they are coming. And this is the part that a lot of people don't understand, that don't report, because a lot of these individuals that are coming from these special interest countries, that DHS labels them SIAs, like I said before, because they might be, we don't know, but they come from countries that sponsor terrorism. So they would require additional screening. But we already caught over 500 of those on the terror watch list that we actually caught coming in through Arizona or Texas. Can you imagine how many we've actually missed that actually their whole purpose of coming into the United States is possibly to do us harm?
The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level.
Last fiscal year, Border Patrol apprehended 564 people on the terror watch list. Of them, 484 were encountered on the northern border.
For the very first time, internal DHS data reveals the U.S. cities that hundreds of thousands of Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan migrants have flown into via a controversial mass parole program created by the Biden administration. The DHS data was obtained via subpoena by the House Homeland Security Committee, which provided it exclusively to Fox News. The data reveals that from January through August 2023, about 200,000 migrants flew into the U.S. via the Biden parole program. This is a breakdown of the top 15 U.S. cities those migrants flew into and how many arrived. The destinations include multiple cities in Florida, New York City, Los Angeles, Dallas and Houston, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Chicago, and Las Vegas. More than 161,000 migrants flew into 4 of Florida's major airports in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, and Tampa Bay. That means Florida received 80% of all the migrant flights during those 8 months.
Some are coming with an agenda, are being sent. They are Chavistas sympathizers. These are Hugo Chavez people. They're socialist communists, and they're bringing that agenda purposefully in South Florida. In Dallas, Texas, South Dallas, Texas, there's an area called Via Dallas right now that is controlled by illegal alien Venezuelans. You can't go in there. Dallas PD doesn't even go in there. As a matter of fact, they're looking for private security people to try to go in there and contain the trafficking, the drugs, the prostitution, everything that's going on in there. And just like this community in Dallas, there's one in Florida, and they're all around. And it's the gang associated with Tren de Aragua, the gang, the Venezuelan gang that has attached itself to these communities and control these areas here in our country.
Would you say there's over 1 million that have gotten in the United States from Venezuela?
I have to check on that number for you, but I would say close.
Close to 1 million?
Yeah, that's a lot of people. And that memo, by the way, that memo, I'm going to try to get it to you. It's a memo. It got leaked. DHS admitting that, in fact, they were releasing them. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it across the country with the crimes that they're committing.
So Venezuela's murder rate is at the lowest it's ever been.
Yes.
Because all the murderers have left there and come here.
Yeah.
And we know this.
The fastest growing transnational criminal organization known as the Tren de Aragua is a Venezuelan gang that has now infiltrated its way into the United States through various sectors of the U.S.-Mexico border.
Mi odisea comenzó cuando yo crucé la frontera, hace 3 años y medio. Pues yo, de verdad, yo venía medida con mi plata y había quedado ya sin dinero. Ya había quedado sin dinero, nos tocó pasar por trocha. Cuando nosotros pasamos que no teníamos dinero para pagar, a mí, más que todo a mí, porque me tocó pagar con mi cuerpo.
Venezuelan national dubbed the migrant influencers at the center of controversy this morning. He has been using TikTok to coach migrants how to live in the U.S. by taking advantage of laws protecting squatters. Hannah Doba reports.
In his most recent controversial TikTok video, Moreno is telling his followers to avoid living on the streets in the United States. They can, quote, invade empty homes and live there.
The problem you folks have is that you want to quote Socrates in the middle of a bar fight. Iran is not our friend. Venezuela is not our friend. President Biden keeps giving them money to buy weapons to try to kill us.
Senator,
do you not understand that?
So there's a confusion right now of we need additional personnel. I always welcome personnel. The more the merrier. The more police, the better for me, for the country. But the answer is no. The answer is we need more border agents to stop this. Actually, no. Actually, the answer is no. We have enough. We have almost 20,000 Border Patrol agents. I think there needs to be a readjustment of those 20,000 Border Patrol agents and the duties of where they're at. Plus, at this point, it doesn't really matter that we have the 20,000 because they're not being allowed to be down there.
They're social workers.
Yeah, they're transporting, hospital watch, everything else that they're making them do. So it is not. But if you were to go back to enforcement, I always welcome more personnel. The more the merrier. But we have enough.
The criminals who committed those crimes are responsible for their criminal conduct.
They wouldn't have been into this country had you not allowed them in through your open border. Do you ever call up the families of the crime victims? Do you ever talk to Laken Riley's family?
Senator, as I stated previously, all of our hearts break for the loved ones of those who have been lost at the hands of criminal conduct.
Good. Okay, so your heart is broken. Do you have regrets? Do you admit your culpability here? Do you admit that your actions have resulted in the deaths and the murders and the assaults of thousands of Americans? I've got the CBP statistics here. Assault and battery up 5.7 times over the last few years what it was in 2020. Homicide up 17 times. Again, these are from keep people in this country illegally. Sexual offenses up 2.5 times. Again, that's the direct result of your actions, of President Biden's actions. Quite honestly, of actions of Democrats in the Senate who refused to vote to complete the wall, which would have helped. It's not the full solution. The full solution is actually having a president and Secretary of Homeland Security that wants a secure border. Our problem is we have a president, a Secretary of Homeland Security, Democrats in Congress, who want an open border that caused this problem, and they won't admit it.
But this virtual flood of pills both into and through Arizona, which has dramatically worsened under the current administration, allowed my boys to make choices they may not have without the current open border crisis.
But because it's a silent killer with these counterfeit pills, there's no urgency. I don't know of any other terrorist organization, not ISIS, not the Taliban, not anyone that has killed as many Americans, but the cartels have. And that's why I'm in favor of labeling them as terrorists as well, so we could be able to approach them in a different manner.
Nearly 108,000 Americans died of drug overdose in 2022. That's according to recent government data. That figure is a record. And of those, more than 2/3 were linked to synthetic opioids, mainly illicitly manufactured fentanyl.
A powerful painkiller known as fentanyl is responsible for one of the deadliest drug crises in the United States. It is the leading cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45, and it can kill people who don't even know that they are taking it.
Why is nobody talking about this?
Well, that's the frustrating part. There's very few of us out there trying to do something about it and bring this awareness. Because one of the things I tell people, at least be aware, at least understand. No longer the days of being ignorant and bliss about this. You have to at least acknowledge that you have to know that this happens.
As they rallied Wednesday, the Biden administration announced it will grant temporary protected status to Venezuelans who came to the U.S. before July 31st of this year. That will expedite work authorization for about 472,000 Venezuelans seeking asylum in the U.S., including up to 60,000 Venezuelans who have come to New York in the past year.
The report reveals that Venezuelans have become the largest nationality for illegal border crossings, replacing Mexicans for the first time on record. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials, Venezuelans were arrested nearly 55,000 times last month by Border Patrol after entering from Mexico.
From Venezuela now temporarily protected and able to work.
This move from the Biden administration comes as New York leaders continue to apply pressure for more help with the asylum seeker crisis.
Do you think there are people that are coming over that have the intent to do our neighbors, our friends, our family members harm?
Absolutely. These huge give-up groups that we're getting, the media is only reporting what they can report on, right? Which is, statistically speaking, a small percentage of the actual bad guys that we're catching. Who's getting through? The really good ones, we will never catch. You can't pay attention to the matches that are walking through the border when all you can see is the little bonfire. Our border is by no means secure.